The chandelier trembled as a scream cut through the marble-floored hotel lobby, sharp enough to turn heads and then freeze them in place. Guests paused mid-step, bellhops stopped rolling luggage, and even the pianist missed a note. No one moved. No one dared. Because the man shouting was Adrian Blackwood, the billionaire CEO whose name crowned skyscrapers and bought silence as easily as it bought rooms like this, an entire penthouse floor of the Grand Helios Hotel, sealed off from the world. And the woman he towered over, clutching her swollen belly at 7 months pregnant, was his wife. Before you look away, before you tell yourself this is just another scandal, stay with me, because what happened next would change every life inside that hotel, and maybe yours too. If stories of courage in the face of power matter to you, tap like, subscribe, and stay until the very end. You won't forget this one. The Grand Helios was built to make people feel small. Gold-veined columns, mirrors that stretched forever, staff trained to lower their eyes. It was the kind of place where whispers traveled faster than truth. Elena Blackwood had learned that quickly after marrying Adrian. She had arrived years earlier as a graduate student on a scholarship, working nights at the concierge desk, memorizing faces and learning how to disappear. Adrian noticed her because she didn't ask for anything. He called it grace. She later learned it was survival. Tonight, survival felt thin as glass. Adrian's voice cracked like a whip. Do you know what you've done? His hand slammed into the wall inches from Elena's face. She flinched, instinctively shielding her belly. The baby kicked, hard, like a tiny protest. Elena's eyes darted to the elevators, the cameras, the people who pretended not to see. She knew the rules here. Power didn't shout, it was obeyed. They were supposed to be celebrating. A charity gala downstairs, press everywhere, smiles practiced in mirrors. But Elena had refused to wear the dress he chose. Too tight, too revealing, too performative for a body that was already tired, already bruised by months of control disguised as care. In the elevator, he hissed threats between floors. In the corridor, his patience snapped. Adrian, please, she said quietly. The baby. Don't say that, he snapped, grabbing her wrist. Everything you have is because of me. Her heel slipped on the polished floor. She stumbled, pain flashing up her spine. Gasps rippled through the onlookers, then vanished into silence. The hotel manager glanced away. Security pretended to adjust earpieces. This was how it worked. This was how it always worked. Until the doors at the far end of the lobby slid open. They didn't rush in. They didn't shout. They rolled in like thunder held back by discipline. 5 motorcycles idling just outside, the sound low and steady, impossible to ignore. Leather jackets bore a simple emblem, a winged wheel. The Iron Seraphs. Every city had heard of them. Riders, veterans, mechanics, fathers, brothers. Men and women who rode for charity, for missing kids, for battered shelters that needed repairs and hope. They weren't here for trouble. They were here because one of them worked nights at the Helios. Mara, a housekeeper with silver-streaked hair and hands worn by honest work, had pressed a silent alarm behind her cart. Not for a fire. For fear. The Seraphs had promised her once, after they rebuilt a shelter she volunteered at, that if she ever needed them, they'd come. No questions. The bikers stepped inside, boots echoing. Their leader, Jonah, removed his helmet. His eyes took in the scene, the grip on Elena's wrist, the tremor in her shoulders, the way the crowd's silence weighed heavier than any shout. Sir, Jonah said calmly, not to Adrian but to the air itself, let her go. Adrian laughed, sharp and dismissive. Who do you think you are? This is a private matter. Jonah nodded, as if considering a business proposal. Abuse stops being private when it becomes dangerous. The word hung there, abuse, spoken out loud in a room that had swallowed worse without a sound. Security finally stirred. The manager stepped forward, voice thin. Gentlemen, please, stand down, Jonah said, still calm. Another biker, Lena, lifted her phone. Red light blinking. Recording. Adrian's smile returned, cold and practiced. You're making a mistake. Do you know who I am? Lena tilted her head. Do you know who she is? She gestured to Elena. Because all I see is a pregnant woman who needs space. Elena's knees shook. She didn't dare hope. Hope was dangerous. But the baby kicked again, and for the first time that night, she felt seen. Adrian tightened his grip, then froze as a firm hand settled on his shoulder, not threatening, just present. Jonah leaned closer. Let go. Now, something shifted. Power relies on witnesses who look away. Tonight, the witnesses were watching. Adrian released her with a shove. Elena staggered, and Mara was there instantly, wrapping her in a towel, guiding her to a chair. Lena knelt, speaking softly, asking permission before touching, checking her pulse, her breath. Someone called an ambulance. Someone else called the police. Names were spoken. Cameras were lifted. Adrian's face drained of color. "You think this will end me?" he hissed. Jonah met his eyes. "No. Your choices will." The wait that followed was thick with fear and relief. Sirens approached. Guests whispered. The pianist played again, hands shaking, a fragile melody trying to mend the air. Elena stared at the marble floor and counted breaths. When the paramedics arrived, she cried, not loud, just tears slipping free, washing months of silence from her cheeks. At the hospital, tests showed the baby was okay. Bruised, shaken, but okay. Elena clutched the ultrasound printout like a promise. The iron seraphs waited in the corridor, helmets tucked under arms, saying little. They didn't ask for thanks. The days after were a storm. Headlines broke. Footage went viral. Investors panicked. Adrian's board placed him on leave, then cut him loose. The hotel issued statements. Apologies bloomed like late flowers. But what mattered most happened quietly. Elena moved into a small room overlooking a park. Sunlight spilled onto wooden floors. Mara visited with soup. Lena helped her file paperwork. Jonah dropped off a repaired crib from the shelter workshop, refusing payment. For the road ahead, he said. Elena testified. Her voice shook, but it didn't break. Each word was a step back into herself. The court listened. The city listened. And for the first time, the world learned that courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers until someone hears it and answers. Months later, the Grand Helios hosted another gala. Different sponsors. New management. In the lobby, a plaque appeared near the elevators, small but deliberate. This space is committed to safety and dignity for all. Silence is not luxury. Across town, Elena held her newborn daughter and watched a line of motorcycles pass the window, engines purring like guardians. She didn't wave. She didn't need to. She knew. If you stayed until now, remember this. Power can intimidate, money can hush, and fear can paralyze, but courage multiplies when someone stands up. Be that someone. Speak. Show up. And if this story moved you, like it, subscribe, and share it. You never know who's listening, waiting for a reason to walk in and say, enough.